We're ready to start the meeting. Are we good, Ron? Welcome to the May 2024 meeting of the El Sobrante Municipal Advisory Council. This is a council which advises the Board of Supervisors on issues relevant to unincorporated El Sobrante. And we will start off with the roll call. Ronnie, you want to go ahead?
Yes.
I don't think he's ready yet.
You caught me this time.
Ready or not?
Already. Thomas Lane. George Cleveland.
Yes, sir.
Susan Boudreau. Jim Herman. Dr. Melinda McLean. Mickey Norris.
Here.
Tom Owens.
Here.
Randy Lloyd.
Here.
And Shirley Rosenthal Winston. Awesome. All right.
Okay, so we'll just quickly, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. George, would you like to lead us this time? No. Sue?
Oh, back here.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Director's report.
All right, we are still at $2,091 for the year so far.
Okay, so I'm thrilled that we are now caught up on our meeting minutes. So have people had a chance to look at the minutes from the April meeting and give us any comments or revisions? Are we good? Somebody have a motion to?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for the April 10th, 2024 meeting.
I'll second.
Yeah. With any edits, if there are any. Now you can say. No, second.
Okay, any edits? Okay, so,
Did you give us the update last time?
No, that's gonna do it today.
Oh, that's a future, that's the future.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Never mind.
okay, so in that case, we'll take a vote to approve the minutes. All in favor? Unanimous, okay. So we'll start now with our county presentation.
Yes.
You want to start, or is John going to be?
I think he may pop in, but I'll be giving the county report.
All right.
Yep. So, all right, starting with the Maori property update, Supervisor Joya and County Planning have been in discussions with the owners of the Maori property regarding getting the owners to dedicate land to the county for a park. And discussions are ongoing, and there is no additional update to report. I'm actually gonna jump on camera real quick so you can see me.
Can you let me in first?
Oh,
Let me in, man.
You
You make me a
here.
co-host and I can let others in while you're talking.
Okay. Let me see. Do a little bit of boom. Gotcha. All right.
Really, not Ronnie flat footed today.
I know. Get my work done. All right, I'm gonna jump in.
That right here looks good.
Okay, that's good.
It's pretty good.
All right, so the first meeting of the Wildfire Prevention Elected Officials Group, Supervisor Joya participated in the first meeting of this group, where he is a member representing Contra Costa County and Contra Costa Fire. The next meeting will have multiple presentations on various wildfire prevention efforts in the Bay Area. And jumping down to the Measure X allocations from the most recent budget hearing. The Board of Supervisors provided direction to the county administrator to allocate approximately $17.5 million in one-time allocations for Measure X. So these one-time allocations include $72,000 for a mapping prejudice project in the county elections office, $1.9 million for facilities deferred maintenance for unincorporated areas, area libraries, and $2.5 million for the South County Family Justice Center, $1.5 million for evacuation software and vegetation management for Con Fire, $7.5 million for the African American Holistic Wellness Center and related services, $2 million for an innovation fund, $1 million for community-based services for seniors and disabled residents, and $1 million for food security projects. And finally, $30,000 for the Measure X Community Advisory Board support. So that was a mouthful, and for everyone here, we do have copies of these. They'll also be in the newsletter that I'll be sending out later this week. And let's see what else we have here. Contra Costa Fire District Preseason Wildfire Preparedness Town Hall. I'm pretty sure Michelle Reinhardt may give us a little bit more context on that on her update, but the Contra Costa County Consolidated Fire Protection District and Supervisor Joy's office are sponsoring a preseason wildfire town hall and open house on Saturday, May 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the county's Pinole Fire Station at 3700 Pinole Valley Road in Pinole. And the wildfire town hall is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and the fire station open house is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So flyers I said they will be available here, but I can provide you with the flyer digitally if you'd like. You can always stop by our office in El Cerrito if you'd like physical. El Sobrante Dumpster Day. The next dumpster day for this area will be May 25th, starting at 8 a.m. until the dumpsters are full at the newly confirmed location of El Sobrante Christian School, located at 5100 Argyle Road. So be on the lookout for the official flyer and more details in the newsletter update later this week. So looking down to the use of Sheriff's Department P6 zone funds. Supervisor Joy has been working on with the Sheriff's Office to identify available funds for El Sobrante from the P6 zone funds. Every year, approximately $80,000 is collected into the El Sobrante P6 zone. And these funds are collected through an annual assessment on new homes built after the mid-1990s in unincorporated El Sobrante. So there is approximately $830,000 in the P6 fund for El Sobrante currently. And Supervisor Joya will be working with the Sheriff's Office on identifying potential uses for these funds in El Sobrante, and will schedule an item for a future MAC agenda for the Supervisor and Sheriff's Office to make a presentation on these funds and receive community and MAC input. Possible uses. That was the longest sentence of all time. And finally, El Sobrante Farmers Market. The county approved the road closure and easement permit for the new El Sobrante Farmers Market, and County Environmental Health has worked with the market sponsors to permit the vendors, and the market has opened, and the farmers market has received strong community support, which I'm sure Dr. McLean may go into. Boom, with swag. So
I didn't bring swag, I just wore swag. You can get your own any Sunday.
Yes. So that concludes the county report.
Is Chris available anywhere?
Yes, right.
Any questions from the MAC regarding the county report?
Maybe,
Ron?
I might have, maybe I missed it. Is there an update on the noise resolution?
As of yet, no update. We're still working with DCB to start those working groups.
Okay.
So once we do get some header with that, I'll definitely be sending out an update.
Okay.
Just to confirm, the Christian schools where the dumpsters will be?
Yes.
The new one, not the old.
Oh,
Yeah.
Where Argyle Road. So I know y'all were thinking that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
thought it was gonna be
did.
right there.
I did hear you misthinking.
So
5100 Argyle.
It's behind the Methodist church by that Christian church there, the Assembly of God Church.
any questions from the community about the county proposal for Ronnie's presentation?
Anybody online have any questions for Ronnie?
I just want to say that the El Sobrante Christian, that's actually the old El Sobrante Christian. The new El Sobrante Christian is where you guys have the parking lot for the farmers market. So
Repeat that. I'm sorry, we didn't hear the first part.
the Argyle Road, the El Sobrante Christian, that's actually the old El Sobrante Christian, the original El Sobrante Christian location. Just so people aren't confused by that.
Using the parking lot for the farmer's market.
I'm sorry? You're not using that parking lot?
But we are, but that's not where the dumpster day is.
That's what I was trying to say, is that the dumpster is gonna be at the old El Sobrante Christian.
Well, that's not Argyle Road.
No, she's saying that the Argyle was the original, before they moved.
And I get that.
We
And
just,
keep in mind, people that are new don't know what you guys are talking about,
Alright.
so just an address.
Well, and in this particular
Yeah.
case,
5100.
Don't mention the school, just say it's.
just say the address.
5100 Argyle Road, that's where it is, okay.
All right. So if there are no questions either from oh, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Ronnie, we had talked previously about from T 94803, the possibility of having water trucks, and I understand that there, for the planters on Dam Road. And I understand that there isn't that, but did you come up with a workaround? I remember there's emails going on, I don't know exactly where they ended up. but
Yes, so unfortunately, Public Works, as a part of the agreement, I believe it was back in 2015, when Public Works had the agreement with the business owners on Dam Road, that they would be the ones responsible for watering the planters. And so I think that's where that stands currently. Public Works went ahead and installed the trees and the planters, and it was agreed upon that the business owners would be the ones to
So there's
water
no
that.
available source of water for us to use.
Not at this time, unfortunately. Yeah.
Did we have any update on the Clark Road, the top of Clark Road? I know you.
So, yes, I wrote the letter and sent it to Ronnie and John have it,
Right.
so that we voted for it on the SMAC, and so it's on SMAC letterhead as a request for the county to take full control and responsibility for that.
I know that last, thank you so much for doing that, but I was just wondering if anything is moving yet on that or not.
No, nothing to update yet.
When do we expect to hear
Potentially next meeting this month. Yeah, we're waiting to, I believe the last step that we were on was Public Works were calculating estimates for what the potential improvements would be. And then we're supposed to be meeting with East Bay Regional Park to go ahead and.
And I want to let you know that Sahela Banya.
Mhm. Okay.
So I'm not quite sure how that works in terms of all the different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But it strikes me that at least getting the boundaries
Mhm.
sorted out would be one step
Mm-hmm.
in the right direction.
That leaves the start, and we don't need the formal. So.
Yay, okay.
Yeah.
Straight up administrative stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there are no further questions about county update, we can move to the next presentation, which is the Fire Protection District. Will Michelle Reinhardt be giving that presentation?
Hello, Chair Lang. I'm here.
Okay,
Hi, MAC members and Chair Lang. Thank you very much for allowing me to join today. I have some quick updates for you as I am on my way into the next room to present at our town hall meeting, the local hazard mitigation plan. So first of all, thank you to the community for your dedication to fuels reduction. The ongoing effort has definitely been reflected in our numbers. And a special thank you to the Board of Supervisors for their ongoing support to the Contra Costa Wildfire Mitigation Program. Funding allows us to continue our very important work and reach communities throughout Contra Costa County. Since January of this year, we have had 120 new project applications into our system. And so we are on track to beat last year's record of 189 submitted applications. And of those 189, we were able to complete 79 of them. So hopefully we can continue the trend. The public is encouraged, as Ronnie mentioned, to attend one of our upcoming town halls. The next is on May 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Following that, there is also one more in Brentwood on May 29th at 7 p.m. And finally, we'll close in Supervisor Glover's district on May 30th at 7 p.m. All of the details and locations are available through our website, and you can also reach out to me Ronnie has my contact information, and I'll be happy to provide the ongoing support to the public residents that want to attend those meetings. Did anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Yeah, you had mentioned that there was applications being submitted online for projects. What are those applications? Like what can we apply for?
Oh, okay. So previously reported to the MAC is the details of the wildfire mitigation program. This allows residents to engage with our Contra Costa County Fire Protection District request portal, and that's available at www.cccfpd.org. And you can identify, along with your neighbors, community shipping days, evacuation route cleanups, fireway strategic plans if you're a fireways community, dead tree removal, shaded fuel breaks, vegetation management, and fuel reduction. A very important piece to that, I want to make sure that everyone hears this. Thank you for the reminder, Aggie. Our low-income exterior hazard control program is now available on our website. And this program allows for $1,500 to address Zone 0 defensible space projects. Zone 0 is the area 0 to 5 feet from a home or structure. It does require last year's tax return to verify income on a sliding scale. And we remind you to please redact your Social Security number, as it is not needed to determine eligibility. And then finally, we're working on our home hardening outreach program. And as soon as that's available, I will be sure to report that at all of the area MAC meetings. Anyone that's interested in home hardening, please feel free to reach out to me or interact with our website at, again, www.cccfpd.org.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, any questions for Michelle from the council?
Actual fires and circling in the area right now, this last month, or is that?
So Michelle,
Yes.
Sue, go ahead and ask the question.
You're presenting instead of the fire chief, so I was wondering if you have any updates in terms of fire activity locally for us, or is that not that outside your purview?
Oh, for suppression and response?
Yeah, response, yeah.
Yeah, that would be presented by a badge member of the service. It does fall outside of the wildfire mitigation program, so that speaks to the district activity as a whole, similar to how the sergeant would report on CHP activity. A badge member of the service would then be the most appropriate to present. I will absolutely follow up with the request to have a badge member of service at a future meeting to provide you with the details.
Yeah, that would be great, because it's just getting to be that season now.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And a written report is good too. I mean,
Okay.
if that's helpful, because they used to do that as well.
Okay. I understand that there's been a lot of changes to the structure of and representation by Confire, but we wanted to lead with the wildfire mitigation program, since that deals directly with the interactions that we have with the residents and responds to their fuel reduction requests.
Michelle, probably in the recent past, we would get the report from Lon, but he's retiring, so.
I know. I will miss Chief Gates. So absolutely. So let me work with the badge team and leadership to get that service restored for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the update. Do we have any questions from the community or online?
Does not appear to be.
So in that case, going gone, and we'll move on to the sheriff's office update. Is a representative from the sheriff's office available?
I think so. It would depend if we knew which agency Lieutenant Holland was with.
He's the APD.
Okay, well then
But
there's
that's
that.
not wrong.
I should have added the sheriff's office there to my name. Hello, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Brian Holland with the sheriff's office. I will officially be taking over as base station commander on Monday. So until then, I'm kind of doing a few other jobs. but I am happy to be here with you and provide you with the update. Next month, I promise I'll be there in person to meet you all. For El Sobrante area, for the total calls of service for the month of April, we had 615, and the majority of those were 911 calls, alarm calls, medicals, like disturbances, noise, or fights, and some service to citizens. Of those, we drafted 66 total reports. And of those 66 reports, we had a total of April. That included one for assault with a deadly weapon, one for burglary of an automobile, at the incident, 2 domestic violence incidents, petty theft, and 1 rape, and 2 vandalism reports or arrests, sorry, out of that. And those are the numbers I have for you all. If I'm missing something, please forgive me. I'm still trying to figure this out. And if you have any requests for next month, I will be sure to have it for them.
So Lieutenant Holland, welcome. Really glad you're here. I just had a question. I don't know if it was last weekend or the weekend before, but there was a lot of police activity. I don't know whether it was by, what's the bar on the corner?
It's a shooting at the Champions.
At the
Is that the
Champions
assault
bar.
with a deadly weapon call?
Anybody in custody on that? I did hear about it and I read the reports. There's seems to be growing problems at that bar. So I'm going to be getting with all of my sergeants and my deputies that work that area to start doing walkthroughs randomly during every night of the week, and to hang out in the area, even in the parking lot, if they're going to write their reports or do something, and to help increase our presence there. I've also gotten in touch with ABC, so we're going to be forwarding and making sure they get all the reports, and that we're going to basically have heavy enforcement action on anybody coming and going from that bar.
Okay, are there any questions for Lieutenant Holland from the council? Or from online or here in person?
I just want to second my concern for the Champions Bar, and I appreciate the sergeant's due diligence in following up with ABC on the reports that they're going to be writing.
Thank you. It's nothing over. I guess we can move on, Mr. Levine.
All right. So the next, we're delighted to have, I don't want to take the chance of incorrectly pronouncing your last name, Sergeant. So perhaps our CHP guest could introduce himself.
Sure. I am Sergeant Steve Fajardin with the Oakland CHP office. Thank you for having me over here tonight. So I'm the swing shift sergeant currently, and for the last few weeks, I've had my officers focusing their patrol on Arlington Boulevard out by the Mira Vista School when schools are both coming out and letting in. We've had some complaints regarding people running lights, driving too fast. I want to actually say thank you for your community. The people down there have really been supportive and appreciative of the officers that we have here from the Oakland area. And it's actually encouraged them to spend more of their time on patrol in those streets when they do have free time. We still don't have a dedicated cops officer for that specific community. We're working on training additional officers, and we do have new ones coming from the academy. So we're still building up that program again. I mean, aside from that, I was actually down on Arlington Boulevard myself this afternoon, making stops for people driving through red lights. And we even took one stolen vehicle report.
If I may interrupt, I'm wondering if that's the north, you might be referring to the north.
No, the East
No,
Richmond.
East
Richmond
Richmond Heights, Mac.
We're the El Sobrante MAC. So our area would be San Pablo Dam Road, Appian,
Hilltop
and
Drive.
Hilltop Drive.
Okay.
Valley View.
Not Arlington.
Yeah, so we normally patrol the Terra Hills area and the unincorporated Richmond more on the south side. The Contra Costa CHP office handles El Sobrante.
Is that
You're the
your
wrong
office?
office.
Is that your office?
Yep.
No, I'm from the Oakland area.
Okay,
We need to
so-
get somebody from that office to deal with our particular streets.
Yeah,
Because we have our own set of really
Right.
horrendous traffic problems.
yeah, which I think
Yeah.
that should be relayed to the folks that patrol this area. The main thing that's affecting our area at the moment is the travel on San Pablo Dam Road. It has posted speed limits that people exceed with regularity and at dangerous levels of speed, like they're, help me out, folks, I don't remember the speed limit jumped around all day.
Well,
It's-
5 miles an hour is not legal on San Pablo Dam Road,
Yeah.
and it gets seen a lot.
Okay, so
25, 40, and 45.
basically, it varies from like 25 to 45, but everybody apparently speeds regardless of the speed limit. So even in the area where it's 25, there are people who do 45, 50, because it's a 4-lane undivided road. And people seem to think that it's a junior freeway. And this is an ongoing chronic problem that, once your fellow brethren officers started to patrol that particular stretch of street, things calmed down a bit. But now,
That used to be me, actually. I worked in Contra Costa and did a lot of speed enforcement on San Pablo Dam Road. I enjoyed working down there.
So we really need to get representation from CHP dealing with Contra Costa, because we have our own
Yeah.
really specific set of problems.
and just, because it's been, we were excited that there was somebody here because it's been about 6 months since the CHP individual has attended this meeting. And, as I said, I need to pass along to whomever that the dam road is a problem again, and it needs to have more patrol, because as I said, once the patrols happen, the problems dissipated, but now it's been kind of left alone for a while. Now it's back, and we're getting, the community's here to give us, they're here because they want to let us know it's a problem, and it's a dangerous road to begin with, and we've had fatalities on it, and we don't want any more.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Andy has a question as well.
So I just want to get a little clarity. Does Oakland's jurisdiction end at Appian Way? And that if you're going Appian Way South is covered by Oakland CHP, and Appian Way East is covered by Martinez CHP?
Yeah, so we cover the main line of the freeway up to Appian.
Yeah.
And then if you were to kind of go more west towards Terra Hills, we have the Terra Hills unincorporated. And then as you go east down Appian, that's going to be the Contra Costa CHP office.
That's correct. So Martinez and Oakland meet at Appian Way, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this from here, south or west is covered by Oakland CHP. From Appian Way, east towards that is covered by Martinez CHP.
Right, and that's who we needed.
Is there a person I can put in contact from your committee for the CHP Martinez office to contact?
Ronnie Mills.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would want to reach out to John Joy.
Right, John or Connie?
Yeah. Our county supervisor.
I'll follow up with you offline.
All right, thank you.
Down to Appian Way.
Okay,
And then here.
well,
Here.
so we figured out the borders, and
And we do have she might not be able to answer this, but we do have a question in the chat. There was another car accident in downtown El Sobrante today. It was pretty bad. I was stuck behind it for a while. I don't suppose you have any information on that. Probably not, right?
I don't, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
That's okay.
All right,
Yeah, I saw it.
Sorry, Anne Marie.
okay,
We got the wrong CHP guy.
yeah.
He's a good guy, but not the right guy.
Monica has her hand raised.
Hi, my name is Monica Hazelwood, and I'm actually a resident, and I'm kind of irritated, not your fault, you're wonderful, etc., but that they would actually send the wrong representative, especially in lieu of all the amount of accidents. I mean, next door, it's like, oh, SPD, another horrific one, waiting, people hurt, super hurt, I mean, it's just been horrific lately. And as a resident, I'm kind of feeling disrespected. Thank you.
All right, any more questions from either online or from our community members here?
Just unmute your mic, Doug.
Okay, I think we have one more from online.
Yes,
I'm just.
I'm the one that emailed everybody earlier this month. And this has been one of the worst. I've lived on the San Pablo Dam Road for 40 years. And this has been one of the worst months for accidents. There's one woman still clinging to her life in the hospital from an accident this month. And yes, there was a serious accident that I was caught up in just 2 hours ago. It was downtown. Somebody went away in an ambulance. It's pretty hard to understand how a 25-mile-an-hour zone causes somebody that needs to go to the hospital. It was pretty serious. And all of them are on the dam road. And we haven't had radar checking on the San Pablo Dam Road for about a year now.
Yeah.
At all. And obviously, you guys haven't even been hearing from CHP for 6 months. None of this is acceptable. And I'm not talking to you, officer. I'm sorry, what's your name?
Call me Steve, it's fine.
I understand you're from Oakland, but we are not being represented properly here. And I believe the El Sobrante MAC ought to take this matter to the top of their list and make sure that something is done about this, because we are not being represented by the CHP at all and haven't been for a very long time. And things are getting really ugly out here.
Mr. Deaver, I want to let you know that prior to this meeting, I emailed Ronnie to let Supervisor Joy know that we hadn't had anybody from CHP for about 6 months, and that it was a problem, and that they reached out to have them reach out to CHP to find someone to come to these meetings, because especially this current issue with the dam road. And they tried, as you can see, but unfortunately, he gave us the wrong person. But he's listening to us, and I'm sure that he has contacts in the Martinez group, and he will relay our concerns to them. And you know, because it needs.
Thank you.
So, you know, we are most definitely aware of this situation. The next door comments have been brought to our attention as well. There was a member of the community that reached out to Ronnie about it, who actually in an independent conversation, because a lot of people were at the Cops and Coffee. I'm probably getting that wrong. The one that were the officers and supervisors. Okay, that one. But that person reached out independently and also brought these same issues about the problems with dam road. So we are most definitely aware of it, Mr. Deaver, and we are working to try to get someone to listen to us, because it's a problem.
Yeah, and I want to second that. As the chair, I've had several emails from people in the community stating the same thing with a lot of urgency. I mean, we get high speeds on San Pablo Dam Road, which is a really complex road. I mean, there are people turning right and left and crossing the street and so on and so forth. And when the situation is that complicated traffic-wise, when you have all this speeding, it's going to lead to really bad accidents, and we just have too much here. And Ronnie and I have had this conversation back and forth about reaching out to CHP and getting someone here. Really glad you're here. We need somebody, you know, in the next meeting who can speak to what's going on San Pablo Dam Road in our area, because we've got problems that we need to resolve.
Yeah, I'm happy to help wherever I can.
And one main question I have is, why aren't they radar checking? There's signs out here that says that the speed limits are radar enforced. But I know when they're out here, okay? In fact, quite often they'll sit in my driveway, and they got a reserved spot there anytime they want it. So you're welcome. But they haven't been out here, and it's been about a year now. And I used to go to the MAC meetings about a year ago quite often and instigate them into coming out here and radaring. As soon as I quit going to the MAC meetings, they quit radaring. And things have gotten worse since then. So like I said, the one main thing is they tried to claim that it doesn't help, but I live here and it does help. Absolutely. And so I wish they would start doing it again and or start giving us some kind of support out here.
So I think, Ronnie, you have something to report to John about the feedback in the meeting, and Sergeant Fajardin. We really appreciate you reaching out to your Martinez colleagues.
Mickey has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish this.
Oh, okay.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
You're right.
Okay. I thought you were wrapping up. so.
Yeah.
Anyway. My question is the CHP really in charge of like the speed limits and what's going on in the roads? I know that they'll be out there with the, with the radar, maybe that'll help. But who do we talk to about the possibility? And maybe we need to really reconsider the speed limits that we have there. That's Public Works, and I think we might even have a Public Works person here, maybe not. But maybe we need to have a meeting about discussing what can we do aside from radar and aside from the CHP presence. Is there, maybe we need to reevaluate the speed limits and bring them down from 40 to 35 or something like that, so people will only drive 45 or 50 instead of 60 or something like that. And I know people have talked about having, the possibility of speed bumps or roundabouts or things like that slow down the traffic. So maybe we can invite the correct department that we can have a conversation about this with as well.
Okay, we've got.
I got some ideas. I gave it actually. I even got some visuals that I can hand out. I did a little research on what would happen if we reduce the number of lanes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if other people.
And that's the bike diet gets us that.
Yes.
So that's an ongoing project.
Okay, straight. Never mind.
So if that were to happen, that's one of the reasons that it would also do traffic calm.
Yeah. I found a study that's about 23 different North American streets that reduced from 4 lanes to 3, and in some cases it reduced speeding by 70%.
Yep.
In no cases, traffic.
So what I would do is reach out to Ronnie, and Ronnie can send you some documentation about what exactly is going on in that area, because that's a pretty serious effort on the part of the county.
Could I please possibly respond to Mickey?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because I have studied all of this for several years. And what is keeping those speed limits at what they are is called the 85% rule.
Yeah.
And it is Public Works that sets those. And the 85% rule is used all around, California at least, and I think the US. Anyway, it's the speed that people travel at. They consider it in other words, people set the speed. Whatever they travel that road at, they set it at 85% of that. And that's how they determine the law. And that's why I was told they cannot reduce it there. But it does not work on the San Pablo Dam Road where you have driveways every 50 feet like any normal neighborhood. You can't, people have to back out of their driveway with somebody coming at them at 45 miles an hour in the speed limit areas, which is kind of ridiculous. I think about trying to back out of your driveway and trying to judge the speed of the car coming at you, and some of them might be going 45 miles an hour. So anyway, that is a good discussion. And also the road diet plan is a good discussion. I've studied that. But all of that is like 10 years out. And we need something now. Okay? People are dying out here on this road. And if we keep talking about these grandiose plans that are way down the road, they don't even have funding for the diet plan. Okay, the road diet plan. And then they're talking about doing a small section, but they've been talking about it for several years. And they're going to be talking about it for several more. So basically what I'm pleading about here is give us something now to get this a little safer out here while we have all these other plans going on. Okay? Thank you.
So that does sound like something that maybe there is some sort of interim thing, but basically people go as fast as the road conditions allow them to. You're quite right with that. That's what the research shows. So having some sort of speed bumps or something along there would discourage speeding, and those would be much cheaper to just put in as some sort of interim type of thing, something.
Maybe.
Well, they argue that they can't put speed bumps on the main thoroughfare. Okay, yeah, I've been in and around all of this.
Anyway, that's.
Too many.
The digital signs that says, slow down, this is your speed. So people will be more aware of something like that. If we're not gonna have a, you know.
We've requested that before.
Yeah, well, maybe we need to request it.
They, when it was brought out before, I was told it was not being brought back because it had been badly vandalized. But just this month, they brought it out for 2 hours after the very, very serious accident I was talking about, where the lady is still in the hospital clinging to her life with a broken back. And that was at the end of the 25-mile-an-hour zone, by the way, just down from my house. And they brought the trailer out here for a couple of hours and for one day, and then we haven't seen it since.
All right, we've had a good discussion, and I think we have a lot of feedback for the county and for the CHP. So I think what we'll do is maybe recognize one more question. Chris, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I have maybe a possible workaround, which is that the caved in part of Dam Road, which is near Valley View. I know that a lot of roads, you see these construction zone, and then they post an orange speed limit sign 10 miles lower than the regular speed limit. If Public Works was just declared that street construction zone, they could temporarily. And I've seen in a lot of places where you're not seeing construction going on, but they've got signs that construction going. So it seems to me like that's when you're talking Public Works, that's the way of addressing it. So we are losing that lane there. Can we use that as a, I say that, not pretext is exactly the word I want, but it's a way of putting a construction zone through there. to
Meet
slow
you
it
at 4 o'clock in the morning and we'll do it.
So what I'd like to do is we've got a busy agenda, and I'd like to see if we can bring a conclusion to this particular discussion.
Excuse me, I have one question for Ronnie, please.
Please go ahead.
My question is, it doesn't make sense to me that we moved to having a contract with the CHP when the CHP is a more burdened agency than our sheriff department. And I've been searching to try to find any information as far as the contract that the sheriff's office has with CHP. And I cannot find any information on it. So Ronnie, I'm asking you if there's anything you can do to find that information and report it back to us, because I would like to see what the contract exactly entails, and if we can somehow transition that contract back to having our local sheriffs as our traffic enforcers, because they were at one point. So I would at least like to see the information on the contract, if not make any room as far as, you know, getting no offense to you, Sergeant, with the CHP. I do love the CHP, but I just feel like they're a more burdened agency than our own sheriff. So it doesn't make sense to me to contract out to them.
I think that's an offline discussion, Ronnie, that you and Angie can have about that. So we should move on to the
Yeah, so
next presentation.
I just want to say one thing, which is I think that there's a lot of interest in having potentially a temporary short, at least a measure we can enact in the short term to reduce speeds that doesn't involve the sort of more longer term solutions like reducing the lanes and all of that. And so maybe what we can do is in the next meeting, in the county report, you could consult with John and maybe the relevant county agencies, and we could report back on a list of potential short-term measures we could take.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
So I think we can move to the next item because our agenda is a busy one. So that's a presentation by Jennifer Cannon from the Contra Costa Office of Emergency Services.
Hi everyone, let me turn on my camera. It's Beatriz Portillo and Jennifer Cannon will be co-presenting with you together, but we'll be using my microphone. Thank you so much for letting us join.
Well, thank you.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Jennifer. I'm a,
El Sobrante, Mac?
you have the wrong one.
You have East Richmond Heights?
You have your previous presentation up here from April 17th. We are also Brandon Mac, so you should have something for us with today's date.
I had sent it. Ronnie, can I just share my screen?
Sure.
Apparently, everybody thinks we're East Richmond.
I think you're El Sobrante.
Sure.
All right. Is that displaying correctly?
How can we use that information?
Which
I don't know. But
Yes,
Well, we can impersonate the East Richmond.
No, they get
you
upset.
do know that their chair is a member of my church. I'm gonna tease her mercilessly about this.
All right, please go ahead with your presentation.
Awesome. So thank you guys for having us. We do know that you are El Sobrante. So we are here to present on the local hazard mitigation plan. It is a 5-year plan for the whole county, and we'll get into a couple of the details, you guys, and we've got a big ask at the end. So I do want to point out that the mitigation plan is not a response plan. It's not a prevention plan. It is different than both of those. This is a mitigation plan. So it helps us with potential funding if we were to have a disaster in the next 5 years, and a couple of other things. So let me move on. Why is it not working? There we go. So we'll give just a brief overview. We'll talk about some county hazards, give you a couple of tips on how to prepare your home, your family, and your pets, and then how you can get involved and help us get this plan approved with both the state and with FEMA. So our local hazard mitigation plan, like I said, it's a 5-year plan, but the requirements are actually moving to a very living document style, which is where your guys' help comes in, because getting that feedback is how we make sure the plan is relevant to members of the whole county. So with this plan, we're working with 16 cities and 20 special districts and all of the county departments. It is a very large, comprehensive plan. So we've also, along with the hazards, have mitigation strategies set up. But your feedback is really how we prioritize some of the strategies that come of this. Was there a question?
No, so go ahead with your presentation and we'll ask questions afterwards.
Oh, all right, works for me. Do you want to take this one?
So hazard mitigation is really important because this is one of the things that allows us to get ready before a disaster, like Jen said, right? And we're seeing now across the country that disasters are getting way more impactful, way more costly, and we're just seeing more of them as time goes on, right? So in 2023, it was a completely record-breaking year across the state for natural disasters, in that there were 28 separate billion-dollar disasters, right? Those are big, massive disasters impacting lots of communities. In California, we really felt those effects, especially in our county, in the January winter storms, right? So for the January winter storms, we saw over $50 million in public property damage and over 20 million in private property, right? So we're seeing that these disasters are getting stronger, they're getting costlier, and hazard mitigation is a great way to reduce some of those impacts. Okay. So in Contra Costa, as part of this plan, we identified over 21 hazards. While FEMA only requires natural hazards, right? So like weather, earthquakes, things like that, our county does something above and beyond, and we also address human-caused and technological hazards. And the reason for that is that we have a lot of significant facilities in our county that not only impact us as residents during a disaster, but are also can have potential issues. So in our county, our top 3 hazards countywide were earthquake, wildfires, and landslides. And for human caused disasters, we had terrorism ranked, active shooter, cybersecurity, as well as hazardous materials incidents. And the cool thing about this plan, and especially being covered under the county plan, is that every county department kind of took a look at the hazards and really working with the Department of Conservation and Development and the Public Works Department identified at least one mitigation action item for each of the hazards identified. As you can imagine, that makes our plan very comprehensive, but it also makes it a very long and detailed plan.
All right. So as always, we do try and give you guys as community members some tips on how to protect yourselves and your family and your property. So our advice is to learn about the hazards in your area. And I mean, you guys are all very active in your community, so I'm sure you have a pretty good idea of what those are. But between our county website and Cal OES, there's some good information if you just want to kind of dive into it a little bit more. Having that Go Kit for every member of your household and for pets is another good recommendation. So having, you know, food, water, medications, anything that you would need if you needed to be gone for several days. And also practicing your plan. Practice makes perfect. So the quicker and the more efficient you guys can be at grabbing that go bag and getting out to safety is going to be better for you guys, for the first responders, for your neighbors, for everybody. So just a couple of quick tips. In fact, just a shameless plug, ready.gov has great information as far as personal preparedness. So the big thing we're asking today is for people to go to our county website. In fact, I think I queued it up and I didn't hit enter on my, I've got the link also that I'll throw in the chat here in a minute. So the QR code right here, if you scan it with your phone, will take you to the website as well. You'll see the county plan. You'll also see all of the annexes all listed out there. It is a lot of information, but there are a comprehensive table of contents. You can do like a word search for El Sobrante and really find those things that that would trigger your area. And really just kind of read the section that matters the most to you guys. And then there's a feedback link to really get that feedback from you guys, because that's what we're trying to collect so that we can keep this living document relevant to everybody, especially you guys here at El Sobrante. I'll leave the QR code up for another minute if there's any questions, and then I'll throw up our email in case anybody has questions for us later.
Did a great job of getting everyone to get their phone out.
Well, that's always the easy part.
Is this somewhere, is this presentation somewhere where we can share it with our neighbors?
Oh, Ronnie, I had sent this to you originally, correct?
Yes, it'll also, I mean, the information will be on our YouTube channel also, but I'll include it in the newsletter that goes out later this week.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much. I did just throw in our email if somebody thinks of questions later, and the link directly to the website. So we do appreciate your guys' time. If you could, please share it with your neighbors, friends, family, anybody who can take a couple of minutes and provide feedback would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, and I'd like to welcome questions from the council first. Any questions for Jennifer?
I don't think we have a good job.
Okay. Any questions from the floor online?
I don't think we have it.
Thank you. That was a complete and concise presentation. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for the time.
So now we go to the variance, development plan applications, variance reports, etc. And the first item is county file number CDS E24-4. And so this is just an administrative permit for new LED wall signage for the Pizza Twist restaurant on San Pablo Dam in between Hillcrest and El Portal on the south side of El Portal. It's just they want to put up an LED sign. I don't see any problem with it. Do I have a motion to approve?
I have questions. Do they have answers?
Okay.
The illumination of it, what's the brightness? Where is it gonna be? Is it inside the building, outside?
It's the one that's
It's
replacing.
it's on a post.
And,
Outside the store, facing the street. And I mean, I can't tell you in candles how bright it is, but it's.
because I've seen some that are bright enough that you don't want them. That's,
I don't think it's gonna be that right.
Yeah.
They're also getting a new, and they're getting a new sign also because they slightly changed their name. They're usually known as Chicago Pizza to the Twist. They should change their name, so they're getting a sign that appropriate reflects their name. And it's in the commercial area, and you know, if it turns out that there's a problem, and somebody can see if it's too bright, then you just, you know, have it.
So.
I agree. I
face it now, George.
Go ahead.
Stacy, as someone who just replaced a sign, a very large sign,
Yeah.
which you all have not seen illuminated yet. I can tell you that new LED illuminated signs, you can actually adjust them. You can adjust them. So if it turns out it's too bright, we could always say, because you guys turned it back. The good news about LED signs though is that they take, of course, very little energy. And so my guess is this will be just swell, and if we think it's too bright, we could always ask them to adjust it.
Exactly.
And these LED signs, really, they're an improvement over past
they're
signage.
Big.
So I just want to, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion for approval.
Okay, can we,
I'll second the motion.
all right, vote?
All in favor, say
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Okay,
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, but that's a good.
That's more.
Before we go on, Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the packet and I'm confused because the agenda lists some things, but the packet has something.
that,
else.
I was gonna bring up exactly the same thing, so you and I are on the same page.
Scary.
So here's the situation. In our list agenda, we have applications, dash 01020, 03018, 03019. But if we look at our packet, the first one is 017, and it's a completely different address or a different,
Yeah, it's almost not 100 pages, and so it was a little difficult to arrange everything. I do apologize. But
okay, well, it wasn't mentioned in the
But
agenda.
it's not in the, it's not in the agenda.
It was in the original agenda. This agenda has been modified. Because the original one that came out did mention it, because otherwise I wouldn't have known to, because I'm retired and on spare time, I'm kind of bored sometimes. I wouldn't have known to actually go to the address in question and just look at it. So because it was there, otherwise I wouldn't, you know, it was, I mean, looking at the agenda, not the packet.
so we're essentially missing one.
So,
Okay.
well, no, zero, we're missing one we're missing something
From
in the
the
packet
agenda.
that's in the agenda.
Okay.
We're missing something in the agenda that's in the
In the
packet.
packet.
Right.
That should have been in the agenda. It was in the original.
It was in the original agenda, and, you know, this one was updated and it was changed.
Can we still act on this?
Um,
So I'd hate to see their business held up because of that.
yes. I'm not quite sure. Could you give me that number one more time?
Yeah, it is CDVR 24-01017.
010.
So the applicant is Scott Scarlett.
For
4949 Hilltop Drive.
010.
Yeah, they want. Did you get it?
So far.
Oh, you're good. That's a good percentage. I'm an open over here trying to catch him.
It would be really great if we could discuss it, so their business doesn't get.
Yes. Yes.
Is it online? Is it, does the agenda online have it listed?
I can double check. I'm more than sure
If
it
it's
should,
listed
but
online, we can do it.
yeah. Let me.
The whole packet online, right?
Yeah.
So they should have this,
Yeah, they
even
should.
though it's not on the agenda.
Right, because it's there, because as I said.
I looked at it too, I wasn't watching the agenda.
So if it wasn't
reading
proper,
through
are they
that.
gonna put us in jail?
No.
You could be jailed for a brownie.
So shall we?
Yeah, I wanna discuss this.
Okay, why don't we discuss this one right now?
So this is, you have in the application, you have the map. So this is basically to allow a 0-foot side yard where 5 feet is the minimum for a retaining wall fence combo with a starting height of 14 feet and a maximum height of 18 feet on a lot of substandard average width. And so I'm looking for the lot here. There it is.
Long high.
It's funky and it's small and it's cramped, so the lot.
About 18 feet tall.
Between
No.
14 and 18 feet is what they're talking about.
Well, it can't be,
It's a retaining.
Retaining wall.
It's the retaining wall.
What's in the ground?
So I would guess that the ground is,
Retaining wall is gonna be out of the ground. Well, yeah, but.
so my guess is that this is on a hill and the ground is sloping, right?
Yeah.
So
It
what's
is.
happening is that in the upper part of the slope, the height of the wall is less than in the lower part.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand.
So
Is, the one thing we forgot to ask, is anybody from this property represented either here or online? I'm gonna say no. And no, okay, well, they're not here, but that's not a bad thing. Happens. Like I said, I drove past it, just looking at it, the lot is kind of as, it is a little funky, it's kind of camp, I don't know how they put that lot in there, I'm gonna speculate that it was subdivided from the lot next to it because of the shape. But that's just my humble, unknowing opinion, but I looked at it and it's like, okay, they need this because obviously their retaining wall is, let me think, it needs to be replaced.
So this is just a replacement is what it is.
Yeah, exactly, they're
An
just,
existing wall.
because of the fact that it has, the 5 feet is the minimum, but the lot itself is, like I said, it's triangularly shaped, it's not particularly wide, it's a little bit deep, but they need to do this, so.
yeah, it seems like it would,
I-
putting a retaining wall would protect the soil,
Mhm.
protect against erosion, things like that.
Well,
Protect the neighbor.
well, for me, part of the deal is they're just replacing a wall that's falling apart.
Mhm.
And they're just building it better because they're replacing it. So in my own view, because I mean, it says right here on S1, the scope of this work includes removal of existing stacked block retaining wall, those are terrible.
Right.
And installation of new soldier pile wall.
Yeah.
So it's just an upgrade, not a real thing. Even though this would not have been legal back when they probably built the first one. I think they get the variance because it was already in there probably a million years ago and nobody showed up to be angry about it. So
Move to support.
1 second.
Randy has something.
Randy's got a question.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if anybody has talked to the neighbor adjacent to this property? And is the actual retaining wall that's going back in the same height? Because it says 16 to 18, is that gonna affect anything?
Well, I can tell you the neighbor will be notified, not by us. You know, whenever you go and you do a permit like this, they notify your neighbors within 50 yards. So that neighbor will get notified. Now, they may have to complain to somebody in the building department instead of us, but.
Yeah, our thing is, Randy, we review these things just like eyeballing them as it were, we don't go and ask the neighbors, because quite frankly, we have no idea who the neighbors are.
But they will be notified.
Yes, there is notification when this type of project comes.
Just trying to figure out the process.
So.
Oh,
we're trying to-
understood. It's
Yeah, we're trying to get the overall impact on the community, so to speak. So if this were like a, you know, something that could have like a big impact on the traffic, drainage, or, you know, all sorts of things. So, I think let's take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Any
So,
opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
all right, so we can go on to the next. So basically, there are files,
The next one,
18,
18,
so there's 20. CDDP 18 and 19 are the next ones in the packet.
And their representative.
And their representative is there. So what I'm thinking is there were 2 duplexes that have already been approved, but where the approval expired. So I guess it's just been re-upped. So maybe we can just have the applicant discuss both.
Yeah. That would be.
because Mr. Yuan's here.
Mr. Yuan, we're at your spot on the agenda, so we want to provide us an update on the 2 duplexes that your client is planning to build in that lot, those lots. That would be great.
Yes, good evening, MAC committees. I don't know if I missed anything. Sorry, I was in the middle of something else. But I'm the applicant and also architect who applied the permit for those 2 adjacent lots with the 2 duplex for the client. And it's true that it was a long process we went through, and finally we got the conditional of approval. I think it's about 1.5 years ago. And however, the client got distracted, especially after COVID, for their family reasons, and the process was paused without knowing that the expiration, usually the expiration, if it's expired, will be a little easy or light process we can apply for the extension. However, in this process, we were not that familiar that actually we should apply the extension before it expires. And when we realized that the permit was, I think, past the due date and was expired for several months, that's how we actually kind of re-engaged the group and reapplied with the new, I think the new permit number, with all the approved document resubmitted again. And the hope, the goal is reactivate the expired permit, so that we can move to the next step for applying the building permits.
So in these previous 2 approvals, you know, the previously approved projects, those included, they were discussed in the max as well.
Right,
And
it went
that's-
through all the process.
and
No.
does anybody have any issue with moving ahead with it?
Well, Tom does.
I have issues with the original one, that they're grading and digging into the hillside, undercutting the slope for the people above them. And I still have that objection to the plan. So,
Okay,
putting it out there. When you write your letter, you have to include it. And it's building close to the creek also, but it's within.
so Tom, would you do me my general feeling about this is that your objections were taken into account in the
I don't
vote.
know, we never heard back, so,
But we had a vote on it,
yes,
and I believe we approved it.
I think.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
So we approved it. You had reservations, those were taken into account in the vote. But I think what I would motion that we do is write another level of approval, and if you can send me a few sentences about the reservations you have, I'll include that in the max response. Does that sound reasonable?
That's reasonable.
Okay,
I'll
so
make that motion.
second, George's motion.
I'll second.
All right.
It's always second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carried. Okay. So, Mr. Euler, what we've just done is, we're going to send another, 2 years ago, we sent a letter of support. And we're gonna do the same thing again. We are gonna note that Mr. Owens, the member of our committee, has concerns about the work that's gonna be done to construct the duplexes. But you can take that feedback into account when you start building, so.
Okay,
So your work with us is done.
yeah,
Okay, so that takes us to the final application. This is CBVR 24-01020, and this is on 533 Melinda Court. And
It's not my street.
It could be.
Although I want to move there now.
It's actually nice.
so the applicant is requesting a variance for lot line adjustment between two parcels of substandard average width. And so it's a 389 square foot
Substandard and average.
substandard average width, okay? So it's a 389 square foot transfer between parcel 52 to 53. I guess my question is, why are they doing that, and are they owned by the same person?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. So, please go ahead and describe.
So what's going on is so when
Say who you are and where you live.
I'm John Rogasich. I live at 533 Melinda Court. And my neighbor, who has been there since they built the home in 1978, when he was there was a fence that was built in between the homes. And his understanding for the 40 some odd years he's lived there, the fence where the property line was, and he's sculpted his garden, he's built his whole house around it. So when I went to go build my carport, they required that I do a lot survey. And when the lot survey came back, we found out that the fence is actually way off by like a number, like it starts right and then it kind of curves off about 10 feet towards the end. So what we're doing is the whole lot line adjustment is basically put the lot line back where the fence was, where my neighbor originally thought it was.
Okay, and
You are.
The neighbor is also a nice guy. You don't have any
Is that
objection?
him? Is that you?
No, I'm his father, but I'm more also.
You're also a nice guy.
Well,
Perfect.
thank you so much.
all right, so this seems like a very civilized,
Yes.
neighborly interaction.
Approved neighborly, wonderful lot line adjustment.
All right, all in favor?
And I won't let anything-
Motion, all in favor? All right. So,
They should all be that simple in that neighborhood.
You see words like substandard average. What does that mean?
I've unfortunately learned all about it. I paid a lot to learn about it too.
all right, so, I think that covers, our discussion items. And, we can move on to information reports from Matt. I'll write the relevant letters to the county planners.
Thank you.
Any information reports from MAC members before I do the Martinez refinery updates? Okay, Belinda.
Farmers Market is a huge success. Please come every Sunday, 12 to 4. And I am just ecstatic that we finally, after so many years of feeling like we always had our hand out saying, give us money or volunteer, we're at least able to give back a little. So thank you all for your support.
And I want to say, I've gone to both farmers markets, and it's great from the point of view of great stuff to buy and really good vibes. And so
We've done 3.
three, oh yes. So I've been to 2 of the 3, and I only have positive things to say.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we get more vendors every time because so many of you show up and then the vendors sell out and then the word gets out to other vendors who are like, do we want to go to this market or are we gonna, and so your support is what's getting us more vendors and becoming popular. So thank you.
Thank you for all
And
your.
bring pocket cash, because that does help.
there gonna be a limitation on the amount of vendors there?
There is an upper limit. We're not anywhere close to it yet. We still have a ways to go before we hit the limit.
I did notice the mushroom company was not there this time.
Well, some vendors, she had a wedding out of town, so sometimes a vendor will skip 1 week and then they'll come back. She didn't go away mad, she just was unavailable. So that will happen with various vendors, and some vendors will be seasonal, you know, especially, as summer comes on, we'll get more and more fresh produce because more things will be available. I mean, right now, kind of, slim pickings, because there's not that much that's seasonal right now.
All right. So.
But we got eggs and meat this time. Now we're looking for cheese, always. And cheese.
Thank you, Melinda.
Thanks, that's all.
Any other, information items from MAC members? All right, so maybe we should see if you can display the, report. I would love to just give it sitting here.
You don't want to get up and sing and dance?
No, you wouldn't want to see that.
Made a pretty picture.
Yeah.
This is, thanks to Microsoft, so.
I think that's just fun.
The generic.
Yeah, so this is when I had refinery in the, title, it suggested slide designs. Refineries on it.
Okay,
And AI gave you that.
there you go.
Okay, you can press the little presentation icon on the bottom. Go down to the bottom bar, go to your right, go to the right of the screen. No, go down to the bottom,
Bottom, yeah.
Very right.
at the very right hand. Okay, there's a little, keep going, what?
Here?
I love
No.
everybody trying to teach a Mac person.
Okay,
to
there you
use
go, go to the
Microsoft.
right, just one more to the right, there you go, perfect.
There we go. Say.
Okay.
There we
We're
go.
learning new things every day. That's good.
Okay, so next slide, please. You just,
The arrow, the right. Oh,
so, the Martinez Refining Company. So this is just from their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page. And the original refinery was considered to be kind of the birthplace of the modern refining process. So it was originally built in 1915. So that plant that we'll be talking about, the first refinery there, built in 1915, was basically, the age of the Model T. So in 2020, it was acquired by a conglomerate called PBF. And so currently it has 560 employees and 250 contract partners, and it produces gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. So why is this of interest? So on November 24th and 25th, there was an incident whereby of 2022, there was an incident whereby the refinery accidentally released something like 24 tons of spent catalyst into the surrounding communities. And when that happened, the refinery sort of continued as normal and didn't activate the community warning system or notify county health as they were required to by law. So, it was as if it never happened from the point of view of the operation of the refinery. But what did happen is that the public in the surrounding area saw this white dust coating their car and their yards and all of that. They, of course, immediately suspected that the refinery was the issue. So county health was notified, and they went and collected samples of the materials that were found in the yards and the cars. And the sample analyses showed concentrations of different metals that are characteristic of catalysts used in this sort of refining process. So so that was November 26th. The county health found these sort of materials that could pose health risks if people are exposed to them over a long period of time. December 24th or December 14th, 2022, the county health notified the Martinez refining company that this is really qualified as a major chemical accident release. Legal action was taken in early January 2023, and as part of the process to figure out kind of why that happened and what the what the response should be, the county formed an oversight committee. So they have their own process for investigation and remediation, but they are required by law to have a citizens oversight committee. And it mostly initially involved people who lived, fairly close to the refinery, but some simulations of the dispersal of the catalyst showed that there could be potential presence of the catalyst even miles away from Martinez. So that committee was broadened. And so Sohaila Bana found out about it. She felt that there was the potential of it reaching kind of the Richmond, El Sobrante area. And so she and John suggested to me that I join the committee. They reach out. And so I had the chance to participate in this oversight committee. And I just wanted to relay a few of the experiences. I'm not an accident investigator or a chemical engineer, so I don't have firsthand knowledge of these issues, but I'll give kind of my layman's experience from being in the committee. So one more back, just a couple of other notable things. Because of the heavy metals in this catalyst that was falling in people's yards, the county issued a health advisory, basically saying that any produce that's grown on land affected by this not be consumed until environmental testing took place. And so in sort of the April to May timeframe, there were a couple of investigations that were commissioned by the county and approved by the oversight committee. One of them was with a company called a consulting company called TRC, and that was to undertake a safety investigation. So basically, what was the health impact of this catalyst release? And the second investigation was an incident investigation. What was going on in the refinery that led up to this release? And just finally, in the summer, after the information on the health impact was released, the county basically told people that they didn't have to worry about consuming produce from the yards anymore. So that's just kind of a timeline of things that happened. So in addition to the sort of two investigations of the health impact and the incident investigation, there's a third investigation going on now about the safety culture in the refinery and what can be done to make it more safe. Okay, next slide. So I'll just start off a little bit with the safety investigation. And I just, I don't know this stuff in detail, but I'll just point out this is just a schematic of of sort of typical kind of refining process. So if you look at the lower left, you see this pipe with an arrow that says feed and it says reactor riser. So all of the input fuels, the hydrocarbons are going into that pipe, and they are being mixed with catalyst. They go into a reactor, and then the output of that reactor, so some of the more volatile stuff gets captured, and other stuff, in particular catalyst, goes back down, and it goes through something called a slide valve, and then goes reactor slide valve and then goes back up. So this is gas that's filled with fine catalyst. It goes into something called a catalyst stripper that removes the catalyst. And then what happens is it goes into a second object called a regenerator, and that regenerator recovers catalyst that can be reused and re-injected back into the reactor riser. And there's the reusable catalyst gets recycled. Other very, very fine catalyst particles get extracted up in these objects called, these devices called cyclones. They get separated out and then eventually deposited to a hopper of, used catalyst, which can no longer be recycled, and then that gets disposed of. So that's basically what this whole thing does. And sort of the critical item here is something called the stripper slide valve. But we'll go on.
Is that where the actual release was? From what point system was the release?
So if we go back one slide. So basically it had to do with sort of the regenerator and then the third stage separator. So I'll go into the accident, but what happened is that there was an overpressure in the regenerator that caused the stuff to be smoothed out. Okay, next.
Oh, it's getting late, I can tell.
All right, next. So what actually happened? So on November 21st, they had some incidents that where some instrumentation failures caused safety systems to shut down the plant. And in between November 21st and 24th, they were working to restore the plant to operation. It's a big, complicated plant, and it was like one of those all hands on deck efforts. And in particular, one of the people whose judgment was really needed in the subsequent times, worked really, really long shifts, like multiple 20-hour shifts. And during that period, there were some deviations from the very strict protocol by which, this refinery operates. On November 24th, as the plant was sort of being restored to full operation, there was overpressure in the catalyst stripper, and that caused really high flows of catalyst to the regenerator and a really critically high accumulation of catalyst, and it overwhelmed the disposal systems and basically caused a release of catalyst out into the air. And what should have happened is this valve called the catalyst stripper valve, and please don't laugh. These valves are all automatically controlled, and the protocol calls for them to be automatically controlled. But for some reason that they went into in the report, the personnel didn't leave them in automatic mode. They were controlled in manual mode, which means that the valve wasn't closed in time to prevent this overpressure from happening. And
So human error.
Human error.
Got it.
Okay, I'll have my conclusions my thoughts on it later on, but it was largely human error, and we go on. So this is I'm sorry about this. But this is the causal, what they call the causal tree. And what I'll do
Is skip to the next slide.
That's a tough one to read.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Read that.
But what I'll do is, you don't have to worry about seeing it, I'll just walk you through it. So there are different sort of columns of error. You can move it up.
Shrink it down again.
So one of them is, there was earlier on, there was a hazard analysis that was done to the plant. And that hazard analysis basically just focused on flaring, and it didn't cover the aspect of catalyst release at all. So when the catalyst release was happening, it wasn't considered to be a particularly significant event. You know, that was part of their hazard training. And so this is part of the, you know, the incident analysis. And another aspect of this was it's, you know, excessive catalyst flow from the stripper to the regenerator. And the reason why it was an inadequate response was that this valve was in manual mode. And the reason why it was in manual mode is because basically people didn't have a lot of confidence in the operation of the valve and the automated systems. So they were basically going.
They took it into their own hands.
They took it into their own hands. And so essentially, there were sort of two factors. One of them was the catalyst release was not really taken seriously in the hazard analysis. And then also, there was sort of a culture of the confiding in sort of super employees to solve all problems and not not having confidence in the automated system.
We call that cowboy culture.
Well,
Yeah.
so those, those to me were this sort of operator error coming from sort of the perception that maybe some of the systems in the plant weren't reliable and really needed to be fine-tuned and handled by super competent people. And then, so maybe they were competent, but when they're working 20 hours throughout the plant. So we can go on to the next slide.
There will be a test, however.
So
my second time to this road.
So this particular report, it's actually, I'm sorry I showed you that really horrible chart. But the report is actually really good reading.
Yeah.
And it's almost like one of those disaster stories, where you see events unfolding. So, yeah, fortunately, it's not like Chernobyl.
Right.
But if you go to the county health website.
But you could get a book deal.
Yeah, if you go to the county health website, you can see a draft incident report and download it and read it. It's recommended reading. I really enjoyed it. And it just gives you a real sense of how that plant operates and what, you think that these are very high stakes industries and very hazardous. Things go wrong, it can be a real problem, but it's a really old plant. And just my impression from reading the report is that it's operating in kind of an ad hoc manner. So the second part was the effect of the catalyst release. And so
I do wonder, has this caused them to change the culture a little bit?
well, so I'll go into that.
Okay.
So catalyst release, so there was essentially soon after this release, county health contracted with another government agency to do a simulation of how the catalyst dispersed over kind of the east, our area of the East Bay. And so there were, as a result of all this, and also, some advocacy on my part, they put a measurement station in El Sobrante. And so that measurement station was actually at the corner, close to the corner of Appian Way and San Pablo Dam Road near the creek. So,
Like right over there.
so right near where we are. Yeah. And so basically they collected materials at all of these different stations. And we go to the next slide. And this TRC company did chemical analyses. And what they basically found is that, even though this release was horrible, in the end, after everything is taken into account, we had all these seasonal rains and so on and so forth. And this was sampled after there had been a lot of rain that probably washed a lot of the spent catalyst off. There's no real evidence that there's a concentration of these metals above what was already in the soil. So the overall conclusion of this hazard analysis, this health analysis, was that even though there were some levels that were above sort of public health screening levels, they were kind of within the background ranges expected for California. So there wasn't a real detectable health impact of this catalyst release.
But don't eat dirt.
Okay, but the reason why you don't eat dirt is because of what happened before these. Next slide. So my overall take on this experience is that I think that the impact of the catalyst release on the community was larger than would have been expected from the results of the contaminants. And there was think of it, there was a long period of time, 6 months or so, where people were told not to eat what was coming out of their yards. And just the stress of not really knowing whether the stuff that was dumped in your hand and potentially went into your food, whether it was harmful or not. And, I think it reinforces the need to better train and guide some of the refinery personnel on detection and reporting of problems. The things that as a scientist sort of interested me was the deviation from protocol. They had some valves that were set to run manually. They had the systems to run them manually. They had sensors, but they completely ignored that. And they had this one particular guy who, was basically in charge of these settings. And one reason was that it was perceived that these automated systems maybe weren't too reliable. And so you had to have, people on top of it. And there was a lot of the burden fell on one person who worked very long hours. And during the course of the investigation, one of the things that just really struck me was that this very complex high impact plant had relatively few sensors and automated interlock systems. So you would think something like this would be instrumented to a T, and that just wasn't the case.
That because of the age of the refinery?
I think it was
Needed to be updated, in other words.
Yeah, and that's the problem. You have basically a big company that's taken this place over, and they aren't going to invest the money in that.
Unless there's
Well, they also took it over from Tosco.
Yeah.
And Tosco had a reputation for being really bad about this kind of thing.
That was a different plan.
Well, no, they were this one too. And then they sold it to them. And so they, it was a plant that was on the Garden basement floor.
So getting to Tom's question, there was an incident investigation that came up with recommendations on what they can do in terms of training of employees to better detect when these problems occur, and to be more on top of things, to adhere more to protocol, to basically improve the safety operations, because it was identified as largely an operator error issue and a training issue. And so there are a set of recommendations to improve training. Also underway is a safety culture investigation that will suggest to the plant changes that they can make in their safety culture that hopefully will, affect the root causes of this.
There was a Martinez woman at my Badass Women's Luncheon who says that the safety culture piece is what's left over from Tosco. They've got some old employees over there who don't operate in modern ways.
So Tosco owned this plant before Shell? Because if you're talking about the Martinez Refining Company, it's PBF now, which was previously owned by Shell.
Yeah.
If you're talking about Marathon, that was previously owned by Tesoro, which was Tosco, which was the Flying A, which was all that. There's a few different plants.
So I guess another take home, and this is my final point, is, we have these new biofuels plants. One of them is going up in, getting commissioned in Martinez. The other one is quite close to us in Rodeo. And these have a completely different chemical process. So the catalysis doesn't involve heavy metals like this one does. The catalysis involves sulfuric and hydrochloric acid. And so, I have questions. I know for a fact that there's been a very rapid buildup of these biofuel plants. And there was an Italian study that I read that cataloged accidents throughout the world. And they find because, people spin these plants up really quickly, that there are a fair number of accidents that go on. And a lot of them happen in the States where we're kind of more laissez-faire than other places. And so I would like to find out more about the safety culture in these new plants in Rodeo and Martinez, and what are they doing in terms of storing these really sort of toxic catalytic substances that they use, hydrochloric and sulfuric concentrated nitric acids, and what kind of fire protection do they have, what kind of containment, earthquake, stuff like that. So I've been on John a little bit to help me get more information about that.
Because we need to know what the legislation and policy and law is, but we also need to know about enforcement, and that hopefully is going to have some relationship. That's how many, the oversight, anti-censor inclusions, all of that stuff has to be in place, because companies won't do it unless they have to, because it's expensive.
And perhaps, since you've been talking about getting on John, maybe John's office can also reach out to the supervisors who represent those two communities, because Rodeo is, it's federal Glover at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't remember who. Well, no, he's retired. So
No.
they
there's gonna be a
runoff in November.
Nobody got 50%.
Runoff in November. So contact his office, and I'm not sure who represents Martinez. For some reason I want to say Diane Burgos, but I think that's wrong. He's County. But that would be helpful, because, and offline, I'll email you someone who you could talk to in Hercules who's been interested in the same thing. So I'll give you an idea.
And I've got somebody at Martinez who might.
Biofuel plants, aren't conscientiously operated with the highest regard to safety. But honestly, I think last year or the year before, if you'd asked the same question about this plant, oh, we operate according to the highest standards, et cetera. And what you see is something that seems to be a relatively ancient plant that was
People in Martinez
operated.
don't feel that way.
No. It's a group that I belong to that has a lot of folks in Hercules, and at a number of our meetings, representatives from Phillips came to the meeting and explained what the process was. So that's a dialogue somewhere that I should be able to share is an outline.
I appreciate it. So that's all for my presentation, nothing particularly detailed.
All right, does anybody on the back?
I was wondering if there are consequences to the company, do they really fine?
Yeah, so there were, John could tell us about that, but there was a major news release on that.
They got five. Okay, any other questions from the back? Anybody in the room have any questions to talk, Mr. Lang? You can unshare that so we can see if there's anybody left online.
There are people.
There are people still on. Okay, anybody online have any questions for Mr. Lang about his report? No? All right, well, Mr. Lang, thank you so much for that information, and I guess I'll just lead into subcommittee reports, and that would be Nikki.
Oh, that's me.
That is you.
Okay, well, since the last meeting, we had our Earth Day event, which was a beautiful event. It went very smoothly. Our collaboration with spawners and SOS and the library and John Joy's office and everything, it went very smoothly. We really got it down. The only thing that was disappointing was that there was not a great turnout. I know we had a lot of competition that day from 420 events, but I think that maybe we've inspired some other local communities to have their own Earth Day events, because there was a lot going on. in Pinole and Richmond and everything else, but on our end, it was a beautiful event. We got a dumpster that when we arrived, it looked like it was smaller than what we ordered. And if that's the case, I think it might have been a 10 cubic yard dumpster instead of 20. It didn't seem like the past ones that we had, and if it is smaller, we'd like to get credit for our dumpster days or for future things. So maybe we look into see what size it is.
20 was requested.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like it was 20.
Yeah, I would have to follow with BL, but that's what was requested.
Yeah, you can, it was small, it was kind of shorter than normal, and not as tall. But and not as tall, I mean, it was definitely, it wasn't like the past ones that we've had in the 20s.
Send a picture to Ronnie so I can send it to BL. She can
I'm not sure what we got as far as the picture. But he did, okay. So that was one thing, but because it was a little lower, but it turned out to be an adequate size for the thing, but for future, if it is smaller, we would like to get credit for having more dumpster space available for our dumpster days or for our coastal cleanup day that I believe we're gonna have, which is on the September 21st, which was the same day as the Pride Day, and we haven't gotten over that's been.
We didn't meet.
Yeah, okay, but I know that when we had our.
We'll work around you.
Okay, when we had
Right,
our spawners,
George and I agree, we'll work around.
okay, we had our debrief meeting, that spawners was adamant that they want to continue on, and we decided for this coastal cleanup day that we're gonna have it a little bit different. We're gonna concentrate more on the creeks and the areas by the creek, so we're gonna identify maybe 5 different locations to concentrate on instead of sending people out, all over the community. But we had great food, great entertainment. That Yeshiva was a lot of fun, and we had more families show up this time, so it was really a lovely day and great weather. So we're happy about it, but disappointed in the turnout. We'll figure out how to get more people in. Coming up is our third Saturday cleanup. May 18th is our next third Saturday, and everybody's invited to help clean up. We'll be here at 10 to 12. Meet here at 10, and we'll give you the equipment to go out, and we'll identify some areas, and we have already identified one area, which is right outside here. Appian Way, I can't believe how much litter is there right now. But the rest of the town. So at least I think our ongoing efforts are paying off. And the last thing I want to say is that we have set a subcommittee meeting date, Wednesday, May 29th at 7 o'clock here. We filled out the paperwork, so we're on. Around with the community. We got Sue and Melinda signing on for this meeting. Oh, and Sue's gonna be presented as one of your, whatever you want to talk about, Sue, is good with us because your wealth of information and the wealth of ideas, and we'd like to hear before you leave your I think we'll definitely have Sue, but hopefully we'll also have Sohail Lavana, who has some ideas about merging some Firewise stuff with some of the things that we do, but we'll see if people want to sign off on that. And then if anybody has any other ideas for our agenda for our subcommittee meeting on the 22nd, please let me know, contact me. And hopefully we'll have an interesting agenda about what we can do going forward Cleanup and beautification efforts.
I'll be presenting on ecological issues about Sobrante.
Hallelujah. Okay. So I think that's anything, whatever is,
Well, the flower pots that we straightened out and we replanted a number of those. The other problem is watering. And the other thing is the graffiti mitigation that a lot of the lamp posts downtown. The idea was we would be painting them, but it's turned out to be a big can of worms, and so instead they're cleaning off the graffiti and stuff that's on the posts.
You know, Chris, I was thinking when you brought up the water issue, that we really need to reach out to the businesses. They want to have their plant, we need to step up and at least offer us water from the businesses. So you don't have to,
Carry it 2 miles.
yeah, carry them too far, or let's figure it out. I mean, we've got volunteers who are willing to put in the time and effort, but we need the business support, so.
We need the water.
Yeah, so hopefully, maybe the people who are taking that up will meet with the businesses and make some good arrangements with them so that we could sustain the beautiful plants that have been just recently planted by mostly Beth and Monica and Chris has done some and Marcus and that's mostly the people. Ron has been helpful too, and then we had the Tanika something.
Oh, Matt.
Matt was there. And they straightened out and leveled out the planters. So, you know, going forward, we want to do some more beautification, possibly murals, possibly other stuff. But personally, what's getting me excited, and I don't know how to do this or get other people involved, but I really want to see a statewide PR campaign to get, to raise awareness about littering, like we had growing up and when Lady Bird Johnson inspired in America.
Texas still does it. You know what?
Yeah, I've heard that
Trash Texas, it works.
yeah, so we need that commitment on a statewide level.
It does help.
Let's see what we can do. I went to a lobby day for, actually with California Normal on Monday. And I did ask one of Buffy Wix's person, what can we do about that? She said, talk to the California State EPA and see if they can help us out.
Okay.
We'll see, if any, but that's one reason for more people to come to our subcommittee meetings, so we can brainstorm and figure out what we can do.
Okay, well,
Make El Sobrante cleaner.
thank you, Nikki. I think we have a whole list of potential agenda items from previous meetings. Do we have any new suggestions for agenda items or speakers for upcoming meetings? I'm dead tired. I can't think of anything right now.
Well, are we gonna bring in somebody to help us address the speeding issue?
Well, the CHP is the very top.
So
So the CHP has got to be the priority.
Yeah. So.
Excuse me, I have something real.
Anyone.
And public works, if we can get.
I think what we had talked about is sort of the priority is getting addressed, whether it's a speaker or just an agenda item, the possibility of getting short-term fixes
Yeah.
to speeding issues here and accident reduction. So that should be, either part of your county report or maybe having John speak to it or something.
Okay. Yeah, and just an update on the noise. So we asked them for that, right?
And it's on the list, but it fell probably very low about West County Health. I still would like to hear from public health about how we can have better emergent care in West County.
Chat, somebody's one potential.
So any more?
Wait,
Yes,
there's something in the chat.
possibly. Okay.
Anji wants to say something.
I'm sorry, I had a emergency business call while you guys addressed this sort of item on the agenda. But I wanted to add that the massage parlor at 4462 Appian Way was recently busted for having the workers solicit sexual acts with the clients for the fourth time in, I believe, since 2018. And he is the same property owner that requested for the duplexes to be built, which is sort of behind the massage parlor. And this property owner is blatant for having code enforcement violations for the current property at 4462. So I just would like the board to be aware of that. And I don't know what your guys' opinions were on approving or supporting him building duplexes, but he's currently in violation for the current property that he owns. So I don't believe this is an individual that should be building anything else in our community, because he is under investigation for running a brothel at a different massage parlor that he owns in a different city. And like I said, this is the recent violation or undercover investigation that they did was
So,
the fourth.
Angie, I think that this is something that it's not part of the discussion or purview here of the community. These duplexes were approved in a previous meeting, and the materials that we had related to the design and construction of the duplexes and their neighborhood impact. But if you have issues of that sort, I suggest that you send them to Ronnie and John, and those get relayed to code enforcement, because I don't think our committee is the place to handle that.
Well, I understand that. I just wanted the board to be aware of what was going on at this place of business and how many times they've been busted for their
business.
Yeah, so this isn't part of our purview, but thank you for bringing it up. And yeah.
Public comment. We know we have one in the room, and we know we have one online because one asked us at the start of the meeting. And okay, if we can let him go first, since he asked us like ages ago. Mr. Lau, public comment. You are free to speak for up to 2 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. I'm excited. It's my turn. Good evening, El Sobrante MAC members. My name is Ryan Lau, External Affairs Representative at AC Transit. Here to talk to you or give you an update about our Realign initiative. As you'll remember, Realign is a review and update of our entire bus network, working within our existing operator count and budget resources, aiming to serve the needs of our riders in the post-pandemic era, as all of the sort of transportation patterns have changed after the pandemic. So we are here about to open up a new round of public outreach starting in May 15th, running through June 5th. So encourage you to review those proposals. We will have something live by the end of the week. It won't be the full suite of information, but starting in May 15th, we'll have trip planners and the like, where you can look at the way that you would typically move around the region and see how it would impact your day-to-day activities. So we're doing the whole gamut of activities. We're going to be doing announcements at city council meetings and MACs like this, various community events throughout the service area, doing ambassador sort of pop-ups at bus stops, and just generally soliciting feedback. We will also have some workshops, one May 23rd at 6 p.m., which is a virtual, and then a board workshop June fifth at 5 p.m. It's hybrid at the AC Transit offices. So encourage you to review those proposals. www.actransit.org/realign. That's REALIGN. You can review the full suite of proposals. Then we'll have a public hearing period rather, starting in August, concluding in September of 2024, with a board decision October 2024, with aim to implement March 2025. So yes, take a look at that and see how that might change your commute patterns. And thank you for your time.
Mr. Lau, I have a suggestion. You might coordinate with Ronnie here from Supervisor Joya's office so that we can add you, and this will be on the next month's agenda, and add you to the agenda as a presentation, so you don't have to wait to public comment when there's far fewer people here to listen to what you have to say. So I recommend that. In fact, Ronnie, we could put that on the agenda for next month because you mentioned June 5th and our MAC meeting is after that, so we'll have some feedback at that time. So does that sound good to you, Mr. Lau?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Is there another public comment?
Yes.
I'm speaking now for the shed because Heather left. She said, the shed is benefiting from the planting justice farmers market as it is bringing many visitors to the shed. Classes at the shed start May 18th in less than 2 weeks. There are 20 classes posted on the website and hope to have more soon. And then the website is shed.org. We are looking for 2 volunteers.
Yeah.
Little area that,
And let me add that they're just doing wonderful all kinds of maker classes. You can do everything from learn to make a Mardi Gras feather collar. Like you can, from that to basic sewing to well, and there's also like make a bench, make a birdhouse. There's a lot of really good things. Really good stuff. So go to their website and sign up for their classes. The Shed El Sobrante.
Doesn't.
Or.
I'm not seeing the classes.
yeah, the shed El Sobrante.org.
Saw that, but not the website.
Any more public comment from anybody?
Okay, so we were
I
adjourned.
think we
Did
can.
you do .org or .com?
Okay, so we're adjourned.
Yeah.
It is adjourned at 9:05 p.m. Good night, everybody. Online, thank you for staying. Thanks, Eddie. Hey, Eddie.